Drum roll. What's up, friends?
What's up, guys?
Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. It was this guy, not that guy. Um, can you guys hear us both? Okay.
Can you hear us all right?
Check, check,
Testing, testing,
check,
testing.
check. So, if you guys are new here, this is not like a formal podcast. We just kind of hang out. We're gonna take it where it goes. If you guys have any questions, whatever, drop them in there. We don't have to do the whole wait till the end thing, but don't go crazy questions because then it's just gonna get confusing. Um,
Cool.
Matt, maybe you want to just start off a little bit of background. You don't have to go super in depth, but
All right. I am blood type O positive.
right, right.
All right. So, less in depth than that, correct?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. My name is Matt Williamson, and I currently do paranormal investigations with Outcast Paranormal. I started out doing this stuff roughly about a year and a half ago, maybe going on 2 years at this point. I think it'll be 2 years in November.
Wow.
And the very first event that I ever went to, Bigfoot Anon, he was there. Connor, love that dude. He's my rock solid dude, man. He was there at the beginning, and which was Stacy Brown and Outcast Paranormal's. They had a skunk ape event out in Mayaka,
Okay.
and um, a little bit of backstory about myself, but that's how I got started on the investigation side. Myself, I've been in, I guess what you would call an experiencer for most of my life. I started experiencing things like ghosts and poltergeist activity. I had a possible Sasquatch encounter when I was about 8 years old. And then from there, it started evolving into seeing UFOs and lights in the sky. I ended up having contact with what I would always saying the volume is low on me. All right, hold on. Let me see. Let me bump up my audio. I apologize, Strange Land. Thank you for that.
I could hear you, but it was,
No worries. I'll just raise the volume up a little bit. Let me know if that sounds all right or if that's too loud.
that's cool with me.
All right. So, look at this. It is 9 o'clock at night, and my phone is still going off. It never ends now. It never ends.
Step away with don't no pressure.
No, no, dude, don't worry about it. So, yeah, man, and got into like UFO contactee stuff um, into my like teenage years, and unfortunately, all that stuff mixed together on top of past traumas and having a not the easiest of lives at the time, ended up developing what you know some major life issues. And then I was blessed with a child on top of all that. And then I just kind of, I ignored everything else. I kind of pushed it all aside, man. I had something to live for and focus on. And a couple years later, then I had my daughter. And, and then fast forward into, I was at a point where everything was finally starting to fall apart for me again. And, this is always where the part of the story gets a little weird for me, a little tough. But
You know,
long story short, man, I had felt like I had become this family man, and I had given everything I had, and I was ignoring everything about paranormal, and I was just focused on having the best family I could be because that was something I always felt like I never really had, and I tried everything I could do to keep that together, and it just didn't work out that way. And long story short, I took myself on a one way trip to the Smoky Mountains, and I was planning on never coming back. And I ended up having a really strange. It was like the loudest knocking experience I ever had. Right as I was about to do what I was going to do, and at that moment in my life, I thought that was God intervening. I didn't think that it was necessarily anything paranormal or supernatural until um, I got back home and a couple more years went by, and then my mom, she's always she had an encounter of her own, and we would watch Finding Bigfoot from time to time, and we would watch Ghost Adventures and Taps and all those shows growing up. From time to time, it wasn't anything big. Just to let you know what kind of person I am, I was the type of person that I knew she had a legit fear of this stuff. And one day I came home from school and she was like, "Matt, I'm not going in the kitchen. The blender turned itself on. I'm not doing this," right? And she had the blender and it was unplugged from the wall.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, all right, well, just leave the blender alone. I pretended to go upstairs and she went out into the living room. We had like where our kitchen was, right next to it was like a window, you know? And she was sitting there on the couch watching TV in the living room. And I snuck in and crawled in and kind of went around that window and I plugged that thing back in and it went, "Meow." Man, she hollered so loud, dude. She's probably gonna get mad at me telling this story, but it's the funniest story ever, man. But that's the kind of person I was, I always tried to counteract the dark things with the light,
Right.
and it's kind of always been this duality to my life. When things get hard, man, all you got to do is just dance through the fire with enthusiasm to get to the other side, man.
Great attitude.
And so later on, she was like, I'm really thinking about like, getting into this Bigfoot stuff, right? And I was like, okay,
This,
huh?
you're talking about your mother?
Yeah. She was like, oh, because at the time, I still going through the divorce, and she wanted to buy a house, and we kind of just moved in together, and she would be sitting there watching shows like Bigfoot Odyssey, and she'd be watching Into the 400, like Shane Carpenter. She'd watch The Skunk Ape Lives from Stacey Brown, and she was trying to get me to watch it, and I was like, "Nah, Mom, I don't really want to do that stuff, whatever." It's that's because I've always felt like the experiences that I had were very taboo, right? I always felt that it was something dark, it was something negative, and it was better to let sleeping dogs lie, or let sleeping dragons, I should say, lie. And I realized that that stuff finally left me alone when I wasn't looking at it anymore, right? But now here I am, and I'm a paranormal investigator. So,
So,
you know,
like for instance, so when you went, you said, I don't want to harp on this, but you say you had a one-way trip to Smoky Mountain, and you had a crazy knocking experience, whatever. I mean, that was without doubt probably Sasquatch, right? Like, I mean,
listen, I'm not going to say either way. It might have been, and I've said in the past that it might have been. I didn't start thinking about it until I realized later on, after she finally convinced me to watch all these shows, and that knocking on trees and things like that were even really a Sasquatch thing. To me, I was sitting there and it sounded like Ken Griffey Jr. hit a home run. I wasn't sure if it was a shotgun. I wasn't sure if it was a tree getting pushed over. Or what exactly it was. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything else. All I knew is that loud, startled jump that sound gave me changed my life, because if it wasn't for that sound, whatever that sound was, I would not be where I'm at right now.
it broke you out of the.
Yeah, well, what it did was it made me realize, oh my God, I really actually like that. It scared me so bad, it made me realize I do want to live.
Do you know how weird it is, right? That this is so very similar to what I went through to an extent, right? Because,
No.
well, yeah, right. So I came back from combat, and I couldn't get my shit together. I couldn't get my head on straight. I couldn't deal with society. I was in programs, impatient over and over and over again. Substance abuse, I couldn't stop because I didn't know any other way to deal.
Mm.
I couldn't get anything right. I tried to invest everything in family, but like whatever. I wasn't clicking right. So all I was doing was going in the woods, other than being in these programs. And I was walking the same woods, and I mean, I was like hopeless. You know what I mean? I was like, I was getting better, but I was like hopeless. I had no drive. I had no um, like no meaning, no purpose. I didn't really see any. Like, I just wanted to tap out,
Mm.
and that's when he presented himself to me, and it really shook everything. Like it made the whole world open up again in a whole new way for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, I do absolutely.
I feel like he stepped in at that point almost. Like if he didn't, I don't know how much longer I would have just kept on keeping him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I've had moments since I've learned more about them and had deeper encounters with them since then. I would say that it was probably something abnormal. It was probably something maybe Bigfoot related, maybe spiritually related. Anything like I don't think that it was just a standard stick that fell in the woods. Like I knew and I know what a gunshot is as well. So, um, I don't know exactly what it was. I didn't see where it came from. All I heard was the thunderous whack. You
Yeah.
know, and it sounded close by, and I just remember that was what I needed, and it kind of woke me up, and I was like, holy crap, what am I doing? I got two kids at home that are gonna need me to be around because you know um,
Yeah.
I won't get into that. I won't get into that part, but
I
because
agree. Like, it is. It's an easy way out, but it's a selfish thing to do when you
it's
have.
it's
And
it is, man, and it is, and I came back from that experience, and I really worked on myself. I really worked on my life. Um, I mean, at that point, I had already gone almost, you know, 7 or 8 years sober at that point, and now I'm at the point where I'm at 12. I'm coming up on 13 now. 13. And like I don't drink, I don't smoke. It was just so funny too because like you see the people on the podcast, and well, I mean I do vape, and but like everybody, the podcast that we have now, right? I get so many comments. Oh man, you guys look like you guys are just drunk and out there in the woods having a bunch of fun, And the bottom line is we're having a bunch of fun, but we're not drunk, man. Most of us are sober. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'll just hold my mic. Oh, that's not good. All right. See, I got so many chords here now, but how do I sound now? Hopefully it's better. Do I sound better? Yeah, yeah. This is a great look. Well, I got this mic new because my cat kind of messed up my other one that I used to use for the shows, and
thank you, better and better.
Cool,
Oh,
and
the whole
go
time. Anyway, go ahead.
okay. No, it's weird. I'm having trouble hearing you at times. Um,
It's bullshit, like cell phone. You know what I mean? And like I have to like stand it on something, and the mic is at the bottom. You know what I mean? Like the speaker at
yeah,
the bottom. So it's literally, it's like it's the stupidest thing in the world. So like, yeah.
but yeah. I mean, I guess to get back into the story, um, I reinvigorated myself. I picked myself up from my bootstraps, and I changed my life around, and my life became beyond my wildest dreams. So when my mom started asking me if I wanted to do Bigfoot stuff, I was very hesitant because of what my preconceived notions of what those things were in the past, and what those things had done to me back then. I was hesitant. And before we went on that trip, I sent Stacy a message, and I was like, "Hey, man, listen, is this like if I suppose that if there's anybody here in the state of Florida who knows anything about this Bigfoot stuff, it's you, and we want to come on your event, but like, can you give me like any sort of inkling of like are these things tied to like demons? Are these things tied to like paranormal activity or anything like that? And he was just, and his response was, dude, nothing like that's gonna happen. Dude, it's totally fine. Maybe he goes, what'll happen is we'll get lucky if we see like a single orb. Nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna be great. So I was like, okay, cool. I guess if there's somebody I could trust, it's probably him. He's not, I suppose if it's going to get worse, he would have told me, right? Well, so we go on the trip, and man, like, not we had paranormal experiences at because there's this place called the Tatum House that's right there on the property of the Crowley Nature Center Museum. Went in there, had like paranormal stuff going on. We were hearing howls. We ended up finding footprints. We ended up finding some hair. And we also saw a UFO the first night. And I was like, there's no way in the world that all of this stuff just happens to happen on the weekend that I was like, is any of this stuff revolving around that stuff? And he was like, nah, and we've been friends since then. And that was the start, and that whole experience and seeing all those different things just kind of manifest themselves all in one weekend. That's a lot of stuff to experience all in one weekend. And it piqued my curiosity. And I was thinking, me and my mom were on the way back home, and we were like, wow, this is something we really like. I don't know about you, but I really liked that. That was a lot of fun. She was like, yeah, me too. Let's just start doing this stuff more. And we did. We started finding our spots down here because unfortunately, I want to say there's maybe like one or two other serious researchers that are like within an hour of where I am. I'm like southeast Florida. Like I'm maybe 45 minutes to an hour from Miami. That's the place that most people know. So like I'm like really far east, and most of the people who like do like, who are my friends now, they all live up in central northern Florida. So like for the podcast, like I always have to travel north to be able to go do those.
Florida's so huge, people don't realize how it is.
Oh yeah, everybody thinks it's either one of two things. It's just a swamp, or you're just in the city, and then on the beach, there's a whole lot of land in between all that stuff. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a sure. I mean, Jacksonville is a whole lot different than the Everglades.
Oh yeah, big difference.
But anyway, yeah. So let's just touch on.
Yeah.
We can't really touch on Stacy because that could go a while. So, like, but as he's a good egg. I like him. He's a lot of fun. So the podcast, the Outcast Paranormal. Well,
the podcast. It's the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast. So I love this because if you guys are, this is why I want you guys. I really want you here too, is because I want everyone to know like what's going on with the Outcast Paranormal guys, because you guys are very spread out, like in some aspects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some aspects. So like the Tonga thing just happened, but like I really want to focus on the podcast for the most part, because like I want to bring people there, because you guys are just getting started, and like, it's really cool how you're doing this.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. Stacy and the guys, they approached me back in like December, January. And they had this great idea, and they were like, hey man, listen, like we know you're into the podcast stuff. Like, would you be willing to come on and start, doing this stuff? And I was like, all right, well, what are you thinking about? And they're like, all right, well, how would you feel about doing a podcast in the woods in person, like Joe Rogan style? And I was like, well, that's my dream. So yeah, dude, I'm down. And we all pitched in and figured it all out and put it all together, and we found a place where we could go to film the first couple episodes. A couple months. Let's see. We kind of like finalized everything about what we wanted to do for it and everything by like the end of January, and then yeah, I think we started filming. We filmed either end of February or early March, and dude, these episodes are so fun. right? Because the idea is that, yeah, we want to present the vibe that we look like we're just a bunch of dudes hanging out in the woods, sitting around a fire, laughing, joking,
It's
and just having a great time.
it's organic. It's not staged. Like you guys are just winging it for the most part.
Oh,
But it's so coordinated. Everything about the setup is so perfectly coordinated, and then you guys are just fucking just you know flying by the seat of your pants with the topic, and it's beautiful. It's perfect.
well, like the best things in life are organic, right? Like
Yeah,
they're not staged, they're not scripted, and like we all have sat around and having conversations and stuff, and sometimes we'll be like, "Oh, dude, we need to stop this conversation right now, and this is something that would be great for a podcast." Like hold on, we'll talk about this another time, because like it's I don't know how to describe it any way other than magical, right? Like we all just happen to gel really well. And me being the newer person, like I get picked on all the time. It's great, dude. It's great. Like they constantly haze me. Like you guys are gonna see in the episodes coming up. Um, like like it gets really funny. I'm gonna say some really like weird stuff, like weird topics, and like launch into this stuff. Um, it's great. It's great. Like I don't want to ruin any of the upcoming episodes for anybody,
like
but if you watched 1 through 4 so far, like you don't even know what's coming.
no, I missed some because I only seen two. The last one I saw was you guys were talking about the patty or something like patty or
Yeah, that one was episode 2.
yeah.
Yep. So episode 2. Now that conversation in particular, um, uh, look, I think I want to say that I said it that day. Like, I don't really know Bob. I never knew Roger. I never met either man. And it is a little weird for me to speak on the subject in particular. Um, but what I will say is that, I trust people that are around me. I also kind of look at the facts. I look at like what the story is, what other people have been able to piece together of the story, and I'm at least willing to play devil's advocate on everybody's favorite Bigfoot. And I know people don't like to hear that sometimes, and I don't mean it in offense in any way, but
I have problems with it too. Like I just have problems with the fact that it's still like the go to for everything. Like I get that it's a template, but it kind of backfires for me because I try to tell everyone like stop looking for Patty.
yeah,
You're rarely gonna see that occur. Stop separating the Sasquatch from the woods because they're so good at blending and bending with everything in there. Like you're not gonna see that full body walking through the across the open plain. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And like
Right.
I think that since Patty, there's been a ton of other decent films too. There's been a ton of decent pictures too. There's been great audio too. Like Ron Moorhead's audio, for example, absolutely incredible stuff. And it is a caliber of its own. But I have a good friend of mine. I mean, I've caught some interesting audio when on the parabolic when I was with Connor and my buddy Tyler at Flat Rock Booger's house.
Well, yeah, I know of it, and yeah.
Yeah. When we were there, we caught some incredible audio, and he, since I've been gone, he's caught incredible audio there. Like there's all kinds of amazing people doing amazing work all the time,
He had a lot.
and
He took his stuff down, I believe, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I believe he took his stuff down.
I think he did, and if I remember the story correctly, he was having some problems with YouTube.
Yeah.
But I want to say that he is still active on Facebook. If hopefully don't quote me. It's actually about time. I was just thinking about it the other day. It's about time I give him another buzz.
Around, but yeah, I should check in.
Well, I've actually taken a little bit of a break the last, which if anybody here that's here tonight ever been watching my shows and how I used to do stuff, I was gearing up to do one thing, and then everything kind of switched and transformed, and now I'm doing another type of podcast. I used to do live shows like this all the time, but unfortunately, it has become a thing that has within my life that I have to pay some more attention at home, and it's just not as easy for me to always hop up on here. And plus, man, I have a third child who's still in the toddler phase, and at the time, most of my shows were dealing with you'd hear babies screaming in the background. I was like, oh man, this is so unprofessional.
Everybody in the LIV drives to me doing everything you just said. Flying by to see my parents, getting them geared up for something, and then it switches, or it does, like
Dude, man,
that shit. So they're all used to it.
yeah, yeah, man. At this point in the game, I kind of just think it's a part of life, man. If you can't be like the water off of Doug's back, you're gonna have a lot of tough times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's cool. That's for sure. Yeah, alligator skin, or yeah, that's what I say, alligator skin, but that's a good way to put it too. Let it lick right on the back.
Yeah, man. You just gotta roll with the punches. Let all the crazy stress and all that roll off your back. Like I told you a little bit about the stress of my day today, and I know you had a stressful day too. But here we are, man, and I'm trying to get back in the swing of things and doing more shows for people because not just with the podcast. I have another film in the works. On my channel, I have a film called Panhandle Monsters that I shot and directed, and that one was all right, man. But for the second one, well, I shouldn't say the second one of those, but this other film that I've been working on, which is more or less my baby. I just realized that I didn't have the resources, and for lack of a better term, the full-blown skills to make it the vision and dream that I wanted. And I was really stressed. I was really nervous. Kind of got a bit of stage fright about it, and then other things in my life started, piling on, and I, ended up into an amazing position to where now I'm with Outcast Paranormal, and now I have people helping me out with the film.
Sometimes that's how you could do it, though. You got to just when you have a channel like this, like it's not the same like as when you're just like somebody that's like offline. Like you're brainstorming and like you're spitballing and everything,
Yeah.
like in public. So like it seems like it's okay. Like it seems like, oh, like I was gonna do this and then I didn't, and then I had this set up and then I kind of bailed. But like it's just the way shit goes. You know what I mean?
Well, here's my thing about it. I try to have as much integrity as I can, right, in anything I do in life, And I personally didn't like the fact that as much as I knew that I have a responsibility and duty to my family, of course it bothered me that I had to kind of take time away from that. And, by the time I was ready to get back in and jump into it, I realized that it was a bigger task than I could do by myself and with the tools that I could afford. And, I was very blessed to be able to get into a position where now I have help with that stuff. I hope he doesn't kick my ass for saying what I'm about to say, but, a lot of people in the Bigfoot community think a certain way about Stacy Brown Jr. and Outcast Paranormal in general, and all of them are just absolutely amazing guys. And if you need something, you need help, they will do whatever it is in their power to help you. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of threw everything I had to the side when they asked me for help. And I said, absolutely, whatever you need, man, I'm going to be there. I'm going to help out. I'm going to be a part of. I'm going to try and get a team vision to where it needs to be. That's you were in the military, Mike. You know what it's like to be a part of a squad, a unit, a team. Like sometimes, like when you have other people do that type of stuff for you, it means something. And like as much as I love doing the solo thing, I really do enjoy doing the team thing. And I couldn't think of better guys to have my back and to be working on absolutely amazing projects. Because they have stuff that they already shot and getting ready to put out, and we got a ton of stuff on the way, not just the podcast. And things that we're planning on doing in the future that are going to be absolutely cool and insane, experiments that people have never seen before. You name it. Like we're trying to be as innovative as we can with things coming up.
Yeah, I like how outside the box thing. Guys, I'm sorry because I know for a fact that this happened on Moke's show last night. Boogie on Monster Show. His chat froze and it wouldn't move. And I know damn well that it hasn't gone 10 minutes and nobody's come.
Well, here, hold on. Let me look at it on my phone.
Yeah,
hold on. You're saying this like this is not as formal, right? So it's not a.
Oh.
All right, hold on. Let's see here. Do 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 do.
be able to pull up this. This is what he was doing last night.
It says that there's only 16 people live, and the last comment is Dana Sherman, which is saying hi, Linda. That's the last thing that was there.
Yeah, listen too, but that was a long time.
It says there's only one person waiting. Okay, hold on. All right. Yeah, no, we're good, man. We're good. It says it's live. Hey, if you guys can do us a favor, if you're listening to the show, because I can see that there's 15 people watching, could you please drop a comment so we can make sure that we can actually see it? Mike is worried that his chat is frozen.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, well, there goes my camera. Oh, no, everybody look at my desk.
Oh, man, bro, if my camera goes down, you're going to see a shit show.
Yeah, right.
I'm in the middle of it's trashed. I'm in the middle of doing so much shit.
Oh, hey, no, we got some comments in. We got 3 new ones come through. Maybe it's just going slow tonight.
They just all piled in at once, yeah. Bing, bing, bing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay,
but yeah, man,
that's cool. It's good shit.
We have a lot of fun, and I think that if we're going to be doing this stuff, we should be trying to have fun. Obviously, we don't like to do things that would make any of us feel like we're compromising anybody's integrity in any sort of way. We try to be as honest about things as possible. We try to do regular research like everybody else does, but, we try to have fun. It's not all just for satire and for joke, but it's good to lighten up some of these things that are, lack of better term, super serious, right?
Absolutely. So, I know exactly what you're saying. I don't know. When you were on Kyle's show, you were talking about. I know he was so gassed up when I introduced him. This guy's fucking wild, da 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 da. I was like, "What's he? What?" I was like, "Why? What's he gonna do? Fucking make a meat suit and stand in the woods?" And he's like, basically, he's like.
All right, so we ended up not doing that, right? We ended up not doing that. Okay. Now there's some things as to why we didn't do that. For one, we ended up not going back. All right. So the plan was to go back there and do this crazy meat experiment, which trust me, that experiment is tucked in the back of my freaking my toolkit, and I'm waiting for the right day to use it because I know it's gonna work. It'll either work or it won't work, but either way, I think it's gonna be cool to get on camera.
It can't do anything but. And we can at least check it off the list one way or another, right?
Well, here's the thing. Let me ask you the question. What do you think I'm an odds man, right? I like to talk about the probabilities of things. I like my numbers. what do you think the probability is that if I'm sitting there on a tree stand with a video camera over a bunch of like deer carcasses or hog carcasses, whatever you want, like, let's just say whatever was thrown there. What do you think the chances are that a Sasquatch is going to come and grab a piece?
One that doesn't know you, probably zero.
Exactly.
Zero.
But that's my point. So other than regular wildlife, is it really not that safe? Exactly. And that's the thing that people don't like. Oh, no, you're going to go out there, you're going to die, the dogman or whatever's going to, which, by the way, dogman is another thing I'm not even sure really exists. And I'm sorry if I'm pissing anybody off by saying that. But you guys got little to nothing evidence. And if you got some, hey, feel free to prove me wrong. Reach out to OutkastMatt, Matt at OutkastParanormal.com. Please send me something that's legit proof that there's a dogman out there, because from what I understand, the dogman community gets a lot of misidentifications and stuff like that. Is what those things kind of get debunked out to.
I've had experiences with them. So
well, the thing is that they leave little to no evidence as opposed to Sasquatch that actually has a lot more evidence, at least on record.
I can't say it's a dogman. I can just tell you it wasn't a Sasquatch, and it fits the bill of what everybody says is a fucking dogman. You know what I mean? Like it acted different. It didn't like me. Like it was a whole other breed of something. I never got a good look at it ever, because it was either dark or it was moving its ass off or whatever. You know what I mean?
So you just seen something that you couldn't explain,
right? Yeah, and it fits the bill.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not afraid to say that there is a possibility that something's out there. I don't think that most of the reports that come in are where's the DNA? Where's the tracks? Okay, I see a lot of people post a lot of like actual dog prints. A lot of the times they're like, "Oh man, no one will be walking a dog out here," and it's like, it's a coyote, it's a wolf. What I do is when I find something that's interesting like that, and I take it to one of my friends who's an expert tracker, or I take it to somebody who's a wilderness expert, and I say, "What do you think about these tracks?" And they go, "That's a rabbit track."
Yeah, well, we have an expert tracker on our team, and he's a bushcraft tracker hunter, whatever.
Cool.
That's what he does. So like anytime I have a question, I just send it to him. But like you'll learn a lot about what happens to prints too, in mud and over time in mud, or in sand, or if it's on a bank, like the little slide that it does, like everything, every little angle, every little, shit changes too.
Yeah, it does. And like, listen, man, I know that there's probably some people out there who are saying that they have encounters, and I am not trying to diminish anybody who's had an encounter, right? That's not what I'm here to do. All I'm saying is that we need to get, as a collective group of, I like to just call us paranormal investigators.
Look, I get where you're coming from, bro. The dogman bandwagon shit took off in a fucking sloppy way. Like,
well, what I'm saying is we just need to find a way to gather better evidence. And honestly, I think setting up a bait trap, somebody wearing a meat suit out in the woods, that would probably do it.
I can tell you how I pissed it up, but if you want to know a couple of ways. Yeah. But I'll tell you right now, it wasn't pretty. This ain't about me, but we'll dive into that another time.
Yeah, but my point is that I think that there's something that could be said about the quality. And look, I'm not just picking on the dogman community either. I'm picking on the Bigfoot community. I'm hardly ever do I see something that's not a blurry photo, that's not pareidolia, that's we've kind of deviated a lot from the harder evidence of what it used to be, according to the research I've done.
Here, I'll show you a picture I captured of one. Or two, actually, last week.
Okay.
Tell me what you think of
it. Are you sending it to me or?
Put it up here.
Okay.
Here. Fucker. All right. Come here. right, I'm gonna have to zoom in. It's a dark one over here.
And you're saying that's a dog man?
Yeah, you see him sitting sideways, and then there's another one behind it. It's above the wording. So
It's
that's
interesting.
yeah. Like I mean,
It's,
that's not
it's definitely interesting.
it's not groundbreaking evidence. Even though I see it and I can take a picture of it and then show it to everybody, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
Yeah, unless we're out there getting the 4K shot of the Bigfoot or the Dogman or whatever.
doesn't matter anymore. I'm telling you, like it's been done so many times. Like the suppression level is too strong. You know what I mean? Like it I'll just take one person at a time. Like that's how I feel. Like if I can make a difference for anybody that particular day, like great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like I said, man, like, you know, it could, like, I believe you, right? I believe your word. I believe that you wouldn't lie to me, right? You don't seem like somebody who's like lying or trying to convince me of anything, right? And you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of those people that try to really convince you that that's what they got.
Like to show evidence because then I have to talk about it and I don't fucking feel like talking about it sometimes. So you know what I mean? Like that's just
Yeah,
I mean
that
that sounds backwards to most people because they're like you gotta show it, and I gotta right. Like I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? Like if you want to come along for the journey, God bless. Like let's do it. You know what I mean? But I know damn well there's so much time in between those amazing moments, like where you
yeah.
capture something epic. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, the cool part about like the experiences that I've had since getting into all this stuff, man, they've every single one, from the ones that I thought were really cool to the ones that were absolutely terrifying. All of them were extremely profound on the other side,
Mhm.
right? Extremely profound, and you know, like as I try to get stuff on camera, right? I try to get pictures too. I try to get things out there, real get real evidence for people to who are also looking for the answers just as much as I am, right? But on the same token, I do feel like some of these things that I've been able to experience were for me and me alone. You know, that whatever this is, whatever the phenomena itself is presenting itself, presenting me with an opportunity to have an experience. Now, why I'm having these experiences throughout what I would call almost a lifetime at this point. You know, why me? You know, why I have a ton of friends who never experienced anything paranormal or Sasquatch or Dogman or anything like that related. So, you know, like, why me? What about me is so special? I've just tried my hardest to have as normal of a life as possible, and it just seems like I can't do that, right? Not anymore. Not anymore, you know, like not like at this point, like it's off to the races, man. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to try and figure some stuff out, you know.
You know, I don't know
Um,
what you're wrong, right? Like I I told you this shit from the minute I met you, and Bigfoot and Anon too. Both of you guys. I will anything you guys ever need. Like I'll fucking go to bat for you. Like I don't care. Like I know that you guys your journey. Like I know you two are gonna be like it's gonna be so important. You guys are still young. Like you guys have a long way ahead of you. But like
dude, I wish that Connor was right up the street for me, man. Like I know that me and him would be getting into stuff all the time, but we live like six. Well, he's actually another time zone away, so it's like 7-8 hours from where I'm at to his house, and it's just like you gotta really plan something to just get up there for me to get up into the panhandle. And he's off, dude. He's living the dream right now, man. He's off and he's doing the acting thing, and he's working with like film crews and stuff like that. And I couldn't be more proud of him, man. Like it's awesome to see like people that I understand that Connor was already doing stuff for a long time, um, But I'm so proud of him to see him like doing the like reaching his dreams, man. That stuff is so important, you know. And like if anything that we're doing is worthwhile, we might as well like it. It might as well be what our dreams are, right? And why wouldn't we wish that for our friends? Why wouldn't we wish that for our family? Dude, if you get the greatest, which if you think that if you say that that's a dog man, I think that that's the best dog man photograph I've ever seen in my life. I'm gonna say that to you, Mike. I mean it. So, but my point is, I ain't jealous of you. I'm so glad that you got that, right? I'm so glad that you did and you were able to go, you know what, here's something for you. What do you think about this, And but my problem is, right, is that a lot of the people go, oh, well, I didn't get a picture like that. So now I'm going to get mad. Now I'm going to go dox him. Now I'm good. Now I'm gonna look up his arrest records, and I'm gonna find out that, he got arrested for whatever, a DUI back in 2006, and 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 also he was friends with some other guy who's a really bad guy too. And then I'm gonna go and make a ton of shows. I'm gonna make a ton of shows and talk about everybody.
Last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago. I'm gonna do it next week. Like,
And it really just comes to the fact that they're jealous, and it comes to the fact that they're jealous. Hey, Robert, I just want to say, hey, man, I understand that. I understand that. If you ever want to reach out to me, man, we can have a conversation about that type of stuff. Because I've had similar type of experiences. So, and but yeah, man, like, look, I'm not sitting here saying that everybody's a liar, right? That's not what I'm trying to do. All I want to say is we need to have which if you listen to any of the experts who are really trying to do this type of work,
sitting down, it is not sufficient enough. Like, all these thousands of stories coming out where in every which angle and oh, I did. How do all these people have these extensive encounters, but they have nothing to show for it? Now, I'm not calling it bullshit. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying that, whatever. Like, maybe some people don't go there. I don't know. Maybe nobody, maybe, just everybody gets the fuck out of town. I don't know. I'm not saying, like Dana says she saw a dog man 4 times. Like, she's a female. Like, I don't blame her for seeing it and going, if that's what she did. But like when I hear like, oh, I was out camping with a group of guys and like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like,
all right, I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to share a story here, right? So I believe I posted it on TikTok, a very brief clip of a UFO that I filmed just a couple weeks ago. And the story behind it is very simple. I literally grabbed my keys, my wallet. I was ready to go grab. I was going to go up to the corner store real quick and grab some smokes, right? Walk out of my house. I look up in the sky, and I see 4, like what looked to me like missiles, right? And I'll share it with you, Mike, so that way maybe you can say what it is since you've been in the military. Now, mind you, I've had a bunch of people who've already looked at this and can't explain what these things are, right? But the bottom line is, I have the film equipment. I have a Canon camera with a 300 millimeter lens that could have gotten a much clearer photo, but because I was in such of a panic, right? And I was in such awe that, oh my God, like there, not just one. I've been going out and trying to get really good photos of UFOs, mainly for like the last like several months, and then like with really to no avail. And then out of nowhere, in broad daylight, here's 4 right in front of me, and then I turn around and there's a 5th one behind me over my head. And what did I do? I pulled out my cell phone, which is the worst thing that you can film anything far away on, and that's what I filmed it with. And my neighbor was sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, what are those? Are those missiles?" Like, I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. I'm recording it just in case bombs start dropping. I'm not even thinking that they're UFOs at this point." I'm like, I mean, I just know that there's something that I've never seen in the skies over my house before.
So were they moving in like upward trajectory?
They were, well, what they did, there was, I mean, I guess if you can count it, there was one moving this, like, what would have been north of me, one moving west, two moving east, and the one behind me was also moving east. But the interesting thing about these is that they were leaving what looked like a chemtrail, which is why I thought they were missiles in the first place, right? Like, oh, like that trail that of like where you're like displacing the atmosphere because you're moving so fast, right? And then upon further inspection and putting it into the programs, I realized, holy crap, these are just like, for lack of a better term, Tic Tacs. And yeah, the truth is in the background. I definitely think that that's something that people really need. I think we do need to come up with some sort of website that'll be available. So for people like me and Mike and any other researcher wants to join that type of that website, and that, like, hey, we're on the website. You can contact us on the website, and we can meet up and do stuff if you're local. I think that's a really good idea.
Well,
Like, go ahead.
no, you go.
Oh, so anyway, back to what I was saying though. I had a camera sitting in the house that I could have gotten amazing photographs of it. But even in that moment, me being a paranormal investigator, I know what I'm looking for. I know that I'm looking at something strange. My mind immediately thinks that it might be missiles because, I'll be honest with you, I've been paranoid about what's going on in the world. And I don't think anything of it, and I just start filming it with my phone. And there are tons of people that I know who have been in the moments able to get the money shot, and they're either too afraid, they're too in awe, they're they have the camera and they're looking with their eyes, but the camera's tilted like this at the ground. It happens to the best of us.
You know why? I film all the time when I'm out there. I'm just so used to doing it. As soon as I get out, I just start running that camera, and then I'm running it as I turn, as I look around, I'm so used to having it out all the time. I think I just cleared like 1,600 videos, like on YouTube alone. Like I'm always filming because people are like, "How do you catch so much shit?" Like, you got to have your camera up. You know what I mean? You can't. Like they say, you miss 100% of
the shots you don't take.
So, like, that's the way I look at it, right? Like, even if my footage ends up a piece of shit, like, I could always delete it. Like, at least I have it running, and like, that's the hardest part, I think, is for people who it's not natural to them. Like, when they're out there and they're caught in that moment, like, and that's why I tell people, if you bump into a deer out there, now pretend you just bumped into Sasquatch. If that deer surprised you, pretend it was a Sasquatch, and just in practice, because you know what I mean. If that's what you're ready for, like if you're practicing, like when something pops out at you, you know what I mean, or like something comes up, just practice. Take it out, start filming it, like go in and out, like just watch how it moves, and
what you're talking about is building muscle memory.
Exactly. Yes,
it's the same thing with like the same type of concepts go into learning and mastering any sort of skill, and the same thing goes into, in particular firearms, right? Firearms, like if you live in a state that can everyday carry, right? What do you and you're gonna get your concealed weapons permit or whatever, and you're going to be someone who carries. It is your duty to make sure that you are properly trained. And how do you train yourself? You dry draw.
Mm-hmm.
You practice and you practice and you practice. It's the same thing with everything, man. And I can say that I've been lucky enough to, maybe it's not always the best quality, but I've been able to document some stuff, and I'm not a pro at it. I would like to think that I'm much better than where I was when I started, you know, and for me that's a big step. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, it's huge. It really is. I mean, if I look back to the beginning of when I started filming and doing videos, like I was all over the place. Like I'm like swinging the camera and I'm like moving too fast and like you know what I mean. And everything was shaky and herky jerky and like you just start to learn how to maneuver. You know what I mean? Like me personally, I use a cell phone all the time. Like I just went out and got the best camera phone there is. Like it makes a big difference. Like this Ultra 23 Ultra or whatever it is, it's a beautiful camera. It's still not the best shit out there. You know what I mean? Like there's great cameras. Like I have Jimbo, he hooked it up. He got a Psionics camera. Like so that's what like it's good. You should try to get one of those for UFOs too. Like it's really the night vision camera. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking into them. I just got to be able to get around to it.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about being young and having a young family and stuff like that, man, it is tough to justify those big purchases with the wife.
That's why I'm giving him shout outs all the time because I wouldn't have it without him. He did it for me. That's I love the guy. He believes in it so much like that we used it the other night. We used it. He got the infrared attachment, the flashlight that goes with it, bro. It's amazing, man. It's amazing when you're out there and like you're in that binocular and you're seeing all this shit and then you take it off and you can't see your hand in front of your face, because it's so dark out.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy what some of these cameras can do now.
And then
Like you would never think it.
when you aim it up at the sky, bro, like it's so crazy too because like obviously you look up and you see the stars, but like when you point that night vision up, it like you see it so much differently. Like it's hard to explain. But if anything moves besides the stars that are stationary, like you see it right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because you have the monocular, like the one eye, like if that makes a difference or what. But
Well, what that camera does also is that it eliminates the moonlight glares. It removes the refraction almost.
okay.
So that way you're able to like get a more that's why they call it almost like daylight night vision, like daytime night vision. Excuse me. But that's why you can actually get like colors and stuff with the Psionics camera at night because what it does is it almost eliminates the darkness in a way. They are incredible cameras, and I was just talking to my friend about this the other day that I would love to get one and really do some cool experiments with these things because, dude, they're just awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Connor, that's correct, man. Me and Connor are actually doing the Skunk Ape Roundtable at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference this year. So if you guys are going to be there, come check us out. It's absolutely awesome. I'm glad Connor was listening tonight because I was, I don't know if you were here, buddy, but I was telling everybody how much I love you, man. And I can't wait for us to get together again next week. It's going to be a ton of fun, bro. It's going to be a ton of fun.
You guys are fucking legends. I love it.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't call myself a legend. All I'm just is a dude trying to figure out what the heck is going on with his life at this point. Me and Connor ended up having an experience that kind of, lack of a better term, changed like my trajectory. Or, it changed my trajectory, man. When we had a really crazy last night out there at Flat Rock Booger's house. Well, I shouldn't say Flat Rock's house, but I call his thing used to be Flat Rock Boogers or whatever, and then he had told us that he doesn't really that those are the Flat Rock Boogers. He's just Flat Rock, and I do, man. I get freaking confused sometimes, especially when it's 10 o'clock at night and my day has been absolutely terrible, But I'm just trying to do my best to learn. I have to say that experience, man, was absolutely incredible, and
You
it was an experience that I'm never gonna forget for the rest of my life. And it's just because of the people that were there, man. Like you don't realize, like when you have a dude like him who invites you up to his home, right? Doesn't really know you from Adam. He just knows that you're like, you do podcasts, and you do a little bit of research, and he gives you an opportunity like that, man. He gave it to all of us at that time, me, him, and Tyler. Me, Connor, and Tyler, to be specific.
passionate and you're all genuine.
Huh?
That you're genuine and you're passionate.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but the point of what I want to say is that how much it meant for me and how much it's done for me, you know, because what happened there and what proceeded to happen when I came home, right? So we had an incident. I'll call it an incident because I don't really know how else to describe it other than maybe like some sort of spiritual attack or an abduction. Till this day, I still don't really understand what happened other than the fact that I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't move, and I slowly started to watch my feet rise up and then get put back down, and then my head rose up and then put back down, and then flat as a board, perfectly horizontal, I started being shaken, lifted and shaken in the air inside of my tent until the point where I passed out. And yeah, you know, it's just one of those things, man. When you have an experience like that, right, where you're and I have tried, right? I've tried reaching out to remote viewers. The one thing I have not done yet is hypnosis regression on that specific event. I plan to. I did do it for another event, but I'll launch into that maybe another time when we come on the show because that was like a whole hour of life-changing experience, right? Because it was for me anyway. I mean, I know a lot of people are very skeptical about hypnosis, but for me, I enjoyed it. I really came out of that feeling a lot different about myself and understanding myself a little bit better. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
No. There's no side.
So,
It's the beauty of it.
so like that next morning after that happened, like because once I actually came to after blacking out, I kind of just stood there, like stayed awake until Connor woke up, and waited for the daylight to come save us, man. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. And I said to him like, dude, I don't know what just happened last night. It was crazy. Like, did anything weird happen to you? And something weird happened to him too. After I had fallen asleep, but before he fell asleep. You can. I don't know if he wants me to share the story or not, but reach out to him, ask him about it. His is pretty cool too. That all this stuff happened in the same night, and then like there was a weird set of events that like the audio recorder didn't catch any of this stuff. There was only Connor's audio recorder, which that just reminds me I got to give him a thing with the files so he can take it with him next weekend when I see him. There was just this weird sound, one weird sound, and it was like almost like a metallic whirring humming sound, and that's it. There was no crunching of leaves, there was no shaking of the tent. It was just for that time period that it roughly would have happened to me at. You could hear nothing but this sound, and it's nowhere else on the audio tape.
So, well,
So, my personal opinion, I think it was an attempted alien abduction, if anything.
so what do you
You
think
know.
that sound was like? Or,
Actually, I don't believe that it was necessarily the sound of the craft, but I think it was the sound of the action, because I believe that most of these things deal with sound, vibration, and frequency, right? I think that these things live with us, but they're able to manipulate sound, energy, and frequency to a degree that we have no clue. Like, we are only touching the surface. This is stuff that's like ancient technology that was lost to us, right? Like if you ever really wanna figure out how they built the Great Pyramids, look into sounds. You know, and listen, I know that a lot of people say that that's just like theory and conjecture, or whatever, right? Um, but listen, a lot of these things all go down to frequency, vibration,
Mhm.
and and manipulation of energy.
Yep.
And it if you really want to understand why you can see a Bigfoot and then the next thing you know it disappears in cloaks, which I don't really like that word. I like the blending thing more. I think they manipulate the light energy around them so that way that you can't see them or take a proper picture of them. That's my opinion, right? But we don't have that for proof on film.
Yeah, all right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you know, I can tell you have a question, dude. Jump
So
in.
funny, it's ridiculous. Like they are. They're like there's elementals that are like they elemental like an earth elemental. Let's just say a water elemental. Dude, that's what they can manipulate, right? Water. Sasquatch is like a nature elemental. They're good with it all. That's it. Like they're just nature's guardian. That's it. They're one with the forest. They're one with everything except us. We're the only assholes not doing what we're supposed to. Like we're the only ones being weird and doing all this extra shit. Like you know what I mean? Like a deer is a deer is a deer. A squirrel is a squirrel is a squirrel. Like everything does what it's supposed to do, and how nature wants it to run its course, except us.
So, all right. So I'm going to say something really controversial, right? And now, mind you, I'm a person who believes in supernatural Bigfoot and stuff like that. Correct? I, so I just want to premise that, right? I want to preface what I'm about to say with I do believe in supernatural Bigfoot. But how come we associate orbs with Bigfoot and supernatural stuff, but we never associate it with the things that we know are there, like the deer?
Wait,
Oh, thank you so much for heading over to sub. I appreciate it. So, like, think about it. Like, you see an orb in the woods, right? It could be anything. It could be any of the like. What if the orbs were secretly attached, to, like something that deer did, right?
could be. I mean, did you Tim T got some weird or shit, right? But it,
Well, the reason I bring that up is because like we know that orbs are associated with Bigfoot just as much as we know that orbs are associated with the deer or with any other organism out there, right? So like to say that the Bigfoot for sure are the cause of the orbs is a stretch. Now I do believe that it's possible. I do believe that if there is a being out there that is able to do and be as elusive as it is, it has to be able to manipulate energy in some way. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do travel in orb form from time to time if they're able to do that stuff.
let's just say this, right? You're my
Go ahead.
neighbor. You're my neighbor, right?
Yep.
Every morning you step out front and you have a cup of coffee on your porch. Every whatever. Every morning I take out the garbage. I don't know why I do it every morning, but I do. I roll the pail down. You hear me rolling it down. It's all loud. It's annoying, but whatever. You're enjoying your morning with your coffee. And you see me do this every morning. Now, on the fifth morning out of the five, you're inside because it's raining, and you hear that pail going down the driveway. Is it me? It's the
I would
same thing. You know what I mean?
I
But
would assume so.
right, you would assume so, but it doesn't always mean. You know what I mean? Like so that
It could be your son, it could be your wife, it could be your neighbor, it could be your cousin Joey or whatever.
right. So I mean, even though we see the orb with the Sasquatch, doesn't mean that the orb can't be with something else, or you know what I mean? It could be something different each different time. Like we don't know. You know, we don't know. Even if we know, we don't know if that's the blanket statement, and that's why I don't make like across the board shit like ever.
Yeah, like that's one thing I try to do too, man. I try to like if I'm gonna say something that I believe something, I'm gonna say that I believe it, right? To say that you know for sure on any of this stuff, it's a bit of a stretch for me, right? Look, at the end of the day, even if you have a full you can know for yourself that your encounters are true, correct? But if you don't have any sort of um, tangible evidence, convincing others of that story is less likely to happen, right? It's the world that we've been molded to have. Everybody, and I'll be honest with you, if you go back and you look into some of these ancient texts, stuff like this was common. Giants were common. Magic, abilities, burning bushes were common. People talked about these things. They were amazing spiritual things that people witnessed or people could do. Now, oh my God, you believe in all that stuff? You're a weirdo. You like what? You're chasing a monkey out in the woods? What? Oh, you seen a UFO? What?
They'll,
And
they'll, they'll chase somebody for an autograph.
and then they'll sit there and they'll watch Kim Kardashian on whatever channel she's on, because I wouldn't know. But my point is that they follow her on Instagram and Twitter and all these things, and they're watching every single move she makes, and they're trying to look exactly like her, or they want to have a girlfriend that looks exactly like her, or whatever the case is. But meanwhile, we're the crazy ones because we're actually trying to observe the natural world around us, because I don't think it's supernatural. I think it's the natural world that we forgot about.
I totally agree. I don't even agree. You're absolutely right. Like that's a fact. It's by design. I mean, it's by design. Yeah, everything's by design. Like I went out, made sure I walked around with no shoes on the other day, like a couple of days ago.
Just to make sure you're grounded, right?
Yeah, and like it's I watch my son. He's 1.5. Like I call him dances on rocks because like he runs around on gravel and rocks and jagged everything, bang, 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 and like doesn't feel a damn thing. And I go and I step like one spot on that gravel like driveway, and it's like and I can't move. You know what I mean? And I'm like, now, so I'm looking. I'm like, so he is still in that phase where he's not, his feet are still like bam bam. You know what I mean? He's not all softened up yet. Like I'm in the stage where I'm dumbed down. My feet are dumbed down. I'm wearing sneakers everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I've been dumbed down, like physically, mentally, everything.
Well, interesting point to make to that. We have been. Have you ever heard of an experiment called Universe 25? If you have not, I believe it's also called the Mice City experiment or something like that. There's a couple different names for it, but the one that I discovered and I've always talked about is the Universe 25. Not to be too graphic with what this thing was, but it was basically a psychologist was doing an experiment on like social and a study of social characteristics, because obviously mice, the reason that mice are chosen to be part of all these experiments and tests and lab tests and things like that is because they have very similar neurochemistry to us. Okay, so this experiment they basically created like a society for mice where there was a group of mice who had to do the normal things that a mice would do in captivity to survive. And then they had another section that only certain mice could get into, right? And that section of mice, food and water was provided, and shelter was provided, and all these different things. And it was like the mouse utopia. And what happened? Well, there was a lot of things that happened in this experiment. Long story short, we all all the mice started to get smaller and weaker generation after generation after generation. The other thing that happened is the women started becoming more aggressive and more dominant. The males, who could no longer create relationships and breed with these females, right? They started having depression and dying from depression, and they stopped exhibiting what you would call the normal male traits, and they started behaving more feminine. So, what ended up happening closer to the end of the experiment, just to kind of fast track this, there was an increase in homosexuality and there was an increase in cannibalism by the end. They started eating each other, killing each other, violence. They, because the men could no longer get with the women, they just, anyone that could, was trying to breed. But by the end, there was an increase in same sex mice relations. So what they found out about that is just based off of your life becoming too easy, it ruins your biological drives of what you were meant to be. Now, take a look at what's happening in our society. Listen, I'm not against, people's choice to love who they want to love. I am always going to say I support that stuff. I have gay friends. I have people, I've had some transgender friends in the past. I do not judge. I do not care about that stuff, right? I care about the contents of your mind and the contents of your heart. But this experiment has been playing out in our world. And if you think that it hasn't, and you think it also hasn't happened in the past, like Richard is talking about, because it has also happened in the past, you need to take a look at that, and you need to think about why this is happening, right? Right. You need to think about why this is happening in our society and what, and why these things are being indoctrinated upon us. It's because they're trying to divide us from what we were biologically engineered to be.
Yeah, yeah. It's not
Down,
just on that.
down to everything, man. Down to everything. Before we had this life, now we had no clue what 9 to 5 times were. We knew the sun came up, and then it went down, and then the moon came up.
100%.
We worship stars in the nature.
You're preaching to the choir right now, bro. Real.
And it's unfortunate. So those types of things, I like to share those types of experiments. I know I'm here to talk about all things paranormal. And to me, I think that that's paranormal. I think that is something that's weird in our world. That's something that's strange in our world. That there's people out there who do everything in their power to keep people like me and you from reaching our full potential as human beings. Yeah, that's a good point, man. So what do you think about that little tidbit, Mike?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that mice don't do that. You know what I mean? Like on their own. I mean, I have no idea.
Listen, I want to say that there is a couple species, like dolphins, for example, who will porpoises, not like the mahi mahi, that will do that type of behavior from time to time. And I think it's very rarely ever observed in the wild, and it's more or less observed in captivity.
The cannibalism part though is fucked up. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
that's the part that's throwing me off more so than the other part. To make you just, I don't know, because we are one of the only we kill each other for fucking no reason. You know what I mean? Humans, not many, but there are people that kill each other for no fucking reason. None. Just because. I don't like that shit, so I'm just gonna start. There's a guy over here that was, I think they named him the Craigslist Killer or some shit, and he just didn't like that there was call girls, so he was calling them and just whacking them, just.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just taxing them and dumping them on the beach, and they didn't know. They're still digging up bodies. And I think Brian Montague Strange told me the other night that there's possibly a network of people because it's so it's so many people, so many girls got killed. Them. I don't know. There's whack.
Well, we live in strange times, right? We live in very strange times. I think I've seen somebody in the comments said that we're close to having the Great Reset again, and we sure are. We sure are, and we're very close to some things changing here in the world, and it's well needed. It's well overdue. Like we need, whenever I get the chance, man, if we have a voice, right? If we have a voice and we have the ability to speak in front of an audience, I feel that we are morally obligated to do our best to try and use our voice to mean something, to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And if I had one moniker that I could say, I would say just open your mind and look at the world around you and ask yourself one simple question. Do you think we need change? And if so, what are you going to do to change it? What can you do?
Right.
Even if it's just meaning even if it's just meaning you just be a better person in your own personal life. Like I'm not sitting here saying that you got to get up and you got to go create a cure for cancer, or you got to go do a missionary in Somalia. I'm not saying that you got to like uproot your entire life, but you can do your best to not ignore evil. I see Richard said ignore the evil. No. Face the evil.
Yeah.
And be the counter light to it.
Yes.
If that's possible.
I didn't know that it needs to stay where the fuck it's at, and that you walk in the light. That's what I do. Like when I don't go looking for it, but when I see that darkness, I address that shit and I let it know it needs to stay the fuck over there. And I do it with like, a sternness, but not like an ignorance or a cockiness, but like you gotta be confident when that occurs.
Well, you have to have resolve. You have to have resolve, and I think that's part of the reason. I don't think people are taught to have resolve anymore. There's I don't know if you've heard this quote. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. I can dig it.
Well, right now we're in hard times because there's a lot of weak people. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, but we got millions of people right now listening to bad people who have voted and put bad people in charge of the things that go along here.
Some days I'm that weak person. Like I can't bring myself. Like, and it's due to like depression and whatever else you want to call it. But sometimes I can't bring myself to shower. Like sometimes I can't bring myself to just do little basic shit that most people just get up and do. And they do. They go through their daily routine. Like sometimes, like I just can't do it. Like, and it takes like a whole lot of me to make it happen.
Listen, man. If you got to stare at that shower, 30 minutes, an hour.
Well, I mean, I got my tools, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, what I'm saying is like, have that mental battle in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Have that battle with yourself, but then follow through.
Well,
that's the key.
I used to be that person that would overwhelm themselves with all these things that had to be done, and I watch people get upset because it's gonna rain on Saturday on Monday. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, slow it the fuck down. But I used to be one. Like I used to get upset about if it's 9 a.m. and you're at work, don't be upset about the traffic that's going to happen at 5 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Look forward to your lunch and enjoy that. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like, take it step by step by step by step. And, for instance, oh, forget it. Like, it's 6 o'clock and I forgot to pay my traffic ticket, or I forgot to go do this, but the place is closed. Don't beat yourself up all night. You know what I mean? There's nothing you could do about that until it opens back up tomorrow. You know what I mean? And like,
Absolutely.
yeah, like it's all about readjust. Whatever.
It's reprogramming your brain. If you do something for, let's just I forget there's actually a science for amount of hours that you do something. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, so I don't want to misspeak. But there's a certain number of hours that you do, and if you do anything for that certain amount of hours, you are considered a master in it, right? But it only takes 30 to 90 days to reprogram the wiring of your brain. And listen, man, look, we have after talking to you tonight and talking to you, a bunch of times before this, this was a long time overdue. You know what I'm saying? And reason being is because we share a lot of similarities, man. Like, we do.
So you know what I mean? But
it's
is
tough. It's tough to reprogram your brain.
Mhm.
Especially, dude, I used to do it too, man. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I threw everything I had at being a family man, at being, at being the best dad, the best husband, or whatever I could be at that time. It was all I had, and I gave it my all. And it was chaotic. It was terrible. I'd never put my own happiness first in any of it. And that was what after everything fell apart, and I realized it got me to a point where, man, I never even stopped in any of that to think about myself, to think about the person that I had become, that I had changed too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was left on my mountain. I say that to my son a lot. He's very high energy, and he's very like rush. And one thing I explained to him, I said, listen, every man has to have their mountain. Every man has to have their solace. Every man has to sit on that mountain and figure out who they are. So if you have time to yourself and you're sitting there quiet, you need to focus on that and listen to what your heart says and what your mind says. That's how you learn who you are and how you figure out how to be who you're meant to be.
Mm.
It took me a long time to figure that out. It really did.
Nah, it didn't take you that long, bro. There's probably still people trying to figure it out. You're a young man, bro. You have a lot of freaking wisdom, a lot.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I know.
But if I have something that I can say, that would possibly help benefit somebody else's day, man, I try. It's part of the reason why I do the research, man. I know that there's a lot of people who can't get out and do what I do, right? There's not a lot of people who can get out and go do the film work and get into the real backcountry areas, and who can do all these types of things. There's not a lot of people who can do the social media aspects of it. There's not a lot of people who can do the video editing of it, and I feel like I have a responsibility to at least try. Maybe it's not freaking small town monsters quality, or heck, I'm nowhere near Stacey Brown's level. Like, that dude is a genius. That dude is a genius when it comes to the film work.
But I look at you that way. Like, even your little Georgia vacation thing to me to me that's a documentary. Like when camping with Sasquatch is here, Montauk is strange. Like, to me, when you guys make your videos of your outing and you edit it like that, to me that's a little documentary of like that occurrence, and I love it, man. I eat it up because you put so much time and love into it afterwards. Like me, I film out there, I put my all my effort in, and then I post it. You know what I mean? But like that's it. Like I don't know how to I don't know how to make it a masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Well, um, I personally think that I'm maybe like amateur level good at it. If I had to give myself a rough estimate, I'm like amateur level. And the reason is because when I was a kid, I used to be really big into anime, right? And like superheroes and comic book type stuff, right? And what I would do is I would like grab clip film, like clips of like my favorite stuff, and I would put it together into a program called Vegas 9 at the time, and I would make what you call today animated music videos, and that was where it started for me. And and then I spent I want to say like a year and a half, 2 years in TV production in high school, and then I never messed with any of it ever again until I started. I was actually working as a boat captain down here, and what I was doing was I was trying to film fishing videos and stuff like that, and I realized, oh, man, I really like this stuff. I really like this aspect. I like putting it all together. I'm like, man, I miss this so much. Like, and then I got into all this. I got into the paranormal side, and I realized that there's like, there's a market. Like there's people like you who like to watch these types of videos, and so like, I've tried to teach myself the best that I could, and it'll only take me so far. At some point, I needed somebody that was going to show me how like no, this is the professional way. These are the like I actually state Stacy just taught me something new today about time codes and how to put a time code into a video. I had no clue what he was talking about, and I'm like, "What do you mean a time code? Like, doesn't it already have a time code on the timeline?" He's like, "No, no, 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 no. Like, there's a thing." Like, and he worked with me real quick, and like, mind you, he's in the middle of work himself, and he was like, "Yo, here, all right, hold on, do this, do this, do this, do this," and yeah, dude, and he taught me something new, and like
Yeah.
that's one thing I try to do, man, is I try to stay as teachable as I can be. Like I know that people like Stacy and people like you and people like they're like everybody has there's at least one thing I can learn from anybody. And I try to look for that, man. I try to look for that. And whatever it is, I want you to
There's
teach me
some,
it.
there's some people that you should learn nothing from.
Look, all right, I'm not going to say that there's not, but I can guarantee you that they have some piece of knowledge, something. It's maybe not related to what they're pretending that they know about, and I'll leave it at that, right? Um, but Mike, stop putting this on me right now. Don't get me going. I've been on a pretty good like positive streak here, and I haven't started like name dropping or calling out somebody's evidence and stuff like that.
That's it. That's the only name we're calling out, Captain Matt. 'Cause, yeah,
Yes. Well, all right. So fun fact. There's places down here in Florida. Well, we have what's called non-navigable waters. Okay. You
okay.
can if you're running a business, if you want to run a charter business, you don't actually need the quote unquote captain's license, right? But you do need to have a standard boater's license, and you need to have like X amount of time on the water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I did, and I only stuck to non-navigable waters. So I am not a licensed captain, but for the purposes of selling the business at the time, yes, I considered myself a captain because that's just what you do. But if you want to make money. And yeah, you know what? I guess I was a captain, man. I was driving that ship, and I was making sure that people were safe, and things of that nature. And I was also putting them on awesome fish. Like I had a dude, he was from Texas, and he was a Spanish guy. He was down. He has I don't know if he was contracted with Target or if he was with a contracted company that had a contract for Target. But he basically goes around and like does all the flooring work and remodeling of all the Targets and stuff. And he was down here. And he was a really cool guy. He was young. He was like, in his early 20s. And he was like, dude, I've never caught a peacock bass. I've never caught a clown knifefish and all these stuff that like all these fish that, I catch all the time. Dude, he had such a good time, man. Like, I didn't charge him very much because I knew he was young. I knew he was having problems, and he's working for a company, traveling around, trying to make what ends meet or whatever. It was just about getting him a good time, man. I still look at those photos sometimes because it was a real surreal. Even though it was like super cool for him, it was also a really surreal moment for me because it was like, man, like this is what this stuff is about.
If you could do it for somebody, that's when you do it. Like, like you don't take advantage of people if you don't need it, And then, like, I'm a firm believer when you really need it, it comes. And then, like, you know what I mean? And granted, look, we all hit fucking rock bottom a lot, you know what I mean? But that's part of life. Like, it is. It's part of life is hitting the fucking floor and then getting back up, you know?
Yeah, man. Humanity's all about rock bottom. We went to rock bottom very quickly, and if you believe in any of the biblical scriptures, we are all born from rock bottom. We are all born from sin anyway, man. Like all we can do is try to do the best with the life that we got.
Yeah, well, that's true. I guess pretty true.
And so let me see what can I share? I mean, I got a lot. Actually, you know what? Since you brought up the Georgia stuff, right? Because I never did get around to what ended up happening with that Georgia thing. Because we ended up going to Georgia because Alabama didn't work out the second time for some reasons, and so we decided that we were going to go up to Georgia. We were going to meet up with Jessica Jones, and she was going to show us one spot, and then that didn't work out because that spot we didn't want to go out there without somebody who could be security, and our security couldn't make it. So we ended up just going and camping out in the North Georgia mountains, and it was awesome because it gave me the chance to fly fish, which I love.
Sweet. You were with Jessica Jones and Mom, right?
Yeah, it was me, my mom, and Jessica Jones. That was it.
That's the Cryptid Huntress and Nona Boss Continue. If you guys want to go check their channels out too.
Yes. Thank you.
Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and his mother is the Nona Boss Continuum, Marty.
Yes.
Very great people. So.
And yeah, and Jessica took us out to this one spot that she I don't know if she knows about it or whatever. But anyway, she took us there. And, earlier in the day, it had kind of been like raining on and off, but it wasn't like super heavy storms. And by the time the night rolled around, it looked like everything kind of peeled off. And as we were on our way up, like up this mountain that she was taking us to, like it was still clear skies when we got to the top. We get out of the car, and I'm looking around. Like I look through we're all kind of standing in almost like a triangle form. My mom has her back to the car that we brought, and Jessica's over to my left, but she was turned looking behind me, and I'm looking like this way, And I see this orb, this bright orange orb, like floating through the trees, and like I had caught it out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, wait a second, is that like a house? And then I realized it was moving, and I was like, oh my god, there's a friggin', that might be something, but that's got to be a house on the other side. And then it disappeared. So I was like, oh, they shut their porch light off or whatever it is, right? And then Jessica turns around and goes, oh my god, I just seen an orb behind me. So I seen an orb at the same from two different directions. Like she seen one behind me, and I seen one behind her. And then my mom started saying that she was feeling like, she was feeling weird being out there and getting like a real bad feeling or whatever. And out of nowhere, the storm comes out of nowhere, and right as the storm was starting to creep up, like we're standing in like a big flat area surrounded by trees, but like we're kind of like in a field almost. And I hear a and I immediately whip around and I'm like, I have my flashlights out. I'm looking. All right, I'm on high alert. I'm looking for danger. Grunt. When you hear a grunt like that, there's only a couple things that maybe could be grunting like that out in the woods. So, but there was nothing there, like absolutely nothing. So then we start hearing this rain just coming in, and we're like, all right, we threw everything in, like the chairs in the car. We hopped in there. Now, I do want to make a note that it took us about 45 minutes or so to get to the top. We get in the car. We're driving back down. And, you're going around in a mountain, right? And so there's like, you go around bends and stuff like there. And there's kind of like offshoot roads that are going to like campsites or, other trails down the rest of the mountain, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know what? That might be true because a very weird thing happened. So as we're coming around this one bend and the headlights point to like where a start of a road would be, right? There was this really tall, dark shadow standing in the middle of it. And I'm talking about absence of light, dark. It was like a black hole, almost humanoid shape to it. And then my mom seen it, I seen it. Jessica was in the back seat, so she didn't see it. Because by the time, like, we were in the process of taking the vehicle going around like this, we both seen it in the front. And then we kept going down. And then suddenly we're at the bottom of the mountain in a total of 10 minutes. Like 10, 15 minutes, somewhere around there. And we're like, what? What just happened? We were maybe only 5 minutes down the 45-minute ride when we seen this thing standing there. So now we're all kind of freaked out, right? So we're sitting there at the bottom, and we're looking around at the road and stuff in front of us, and everything's suddenly dry. Suddenly there's no more rain. There's only a little bit of puddle. And what is now the road. Now we're at the road now. We're not on the dirt path anymore. We're on the road. And we're just like, what the just happened, right? So we start driving. And this is one of the craziest things that I've ever seen in my life. And I've never seen this. I have seen a lot of wildlife do a lot of strange things, but I have never seen something this strange. And it was a barn owl, not a barred owl, a barn owl. As we're driving down the road, I need my other hand to. This owl starts flying in and turns towards the windshield and is slow motion going like this. I'm talking about, man, he's maybe freaking 3-4 inches from the windshield and never gets hit the entire time going across in slow motion.
Wow.
White, pale, creepy barn owl, and then just freaking zips off. And I'm like...
And you guys were moving.
We were moving.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, okay. We need to think about what just happened to us, right? Like, this is incredible, right? Because... Man, that's a lot of weird coincidences all at once, right? And mind you, we have very little evidence and audio. The only thing that we did do is that we actually sat down after we got back to the camp, and we were like, all right, we're going to sit down and we're going to try and talk about this and get it on camera at least, because none of us were filming. You know, we were just out there trying to have an experience and see some stuff. And we saw some stuff,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, that what's bugged out too is like, yeah, I I didn't know anything about your outing yet. You know what I mean? I think it was when you guys had just got back, and like you posted a picture or something, some of like the three of you,
Yeah.
and I was like right away, I was like, I think I messaged you. I'm like, there's like a portal behind you guys.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, I don't know exactly what it was, but I thought it was really interesting that you pointed it out to me, because what it did was it sent me on a little bit of a deep dive, and I was looking for other like photos and pictures of what people have seen, and it looked very similar to what other people have seen and described as seeing orbs, like in active hotspots and stuff like that. So it's very cool. It's actually encouraged me to start taking more pictures like that to see what I can see around me, to see if that kind of phenomenon continues to appear in photographs.
All these guys are talking about.
I'm not sure.
I think it's a side conversation. So yeah. Anyway, that's that shit is wild, bro.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that I should have just went and did the meat experiment. That's what I realized about that whole trip, is that I should have just went and did the meat thing. I should have just went out into the woods and covered myself in carrion, and I might have had a different experience.
I've had that happen to me where there's this road in the Catskills that it's right by our house, and like it's supposed to go like it starts here and it ends there, and that's all it's supposed to do. And on 5 different occasions, we ended up in a different spot, and you know, it, I'm really dumbing it down and shortening this whole story because like it's just really in depth. But man, it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Like, yeah, how do you spit out in a different location and like on the other side of town and like over here on the other side of town and like it like across highways and across wildernesses and like shit like that, you know? And I don't know, bro. It's wild, but that just it made me think of it when you were talking about going down the mountain and how it should have took 45 minutes, and you're like you were there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. You know, it's a really weird thing, and to answer Camping with Sasquatch's question, I'm not really sure what the figure itself was, but we do feel like we all lost time. That we were either, I don't think we were like full blown abducted, but I think we were probably like accosted in some way. Like we were probably stopped and tinkered with in some sort of way. My mom ended up having this strange marking on her arm, which was really peculiar. It was almost like burn marks in the shape of like a constellation or something almost. It was really interesting. But yeah, we all did feel, because we for sure lost like at least like 15, 20 minutes, maybe more. Like, because you got to think about it. Like, now we're going down, so I don't expect it to exactly be 45 minutes going down, because you do slightly go faster. But we had literally went like maybe 5 minutes down, went around a bend, and experienced what we experienced. Kept going, and suddenly it was like we were suddenly at the bottom. And
Yeah.
going on, because there was like a little bridge that went over like a small creek right there, and then that's where it turned from the dirt road to the pavement. And it was like, whoa, hold up, we got here way too fast.
Well, what Montauk is Strange is saying is what I was hoping somebody was going to mention, because I don't know. I don't know if that, Brian, I don't know if that's something that's like across the board, but I've heard that too, bro. Like abductions and like missing time go hand in hand with these owls.
Well, for some reason, it seems to be that they are used a lot in screen memories, right? I see it a lot of things where, or I should say, a lot of people's encounters where they are describing visions or dreams that they thought they had about these owls, or When I was a kid, I used to always see this owl everywhere and stuff like that. And, come to find out they've been a lifelong abductee after hypnosis regression. Um, so like for whatever reason, owls are a very popular thing when it comes to alien phenomena. And it just so I mean, like I said, you can believe the story all you want, but it's a very interesting thing, and I have no clue what the real reason behind the owls is. I wish I did. I wish there. I know that there's like a lot of like meanings for like if you like look in like Native American lore and things like that, right? For what the owls could mean, and I think it's like knowledge and wisdom and a couple other things like that they're like symbolic for, right?
Yeah.
But why they choose that, I don't know. But all I can say is I never seen a more creepy owl do some creepy stuff like that in my entire life, man. I've seen some owls before. Okay, I've seen some owls. They were never that freaking creepy looking, and dude, it was a weird thing. It was very weird.
Would have to like the mechanics of like the what it would have had to do to not get hit by the car. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it would,
yeah, it was mind blowing. We should have smashed that thing into a billion pieces, but somehow it
yeah,
just floated there. It just floated there, right? And it made sure to like make eye contact with each of us as it went by, because like we literally stopped the car in the middle of the road and we're like, oh my god, what was that? Yeah, it was crazy, man. It's stuff like that make this stuff like worth it, but also kind of like it makes you reevaluate yourself. Like, why the hell am I doing this stuff? Because like I got a family. Like, I don't want to like one of these days maybe they'll take me on a ship and never bring me back. And it's like, should I really be doing this stuff? I don't know anymore. you know, but it's also really cool, and it's like you get to share these types of experiences with people, and then like other people get to have they feel a little bit better about the things that happen to them, and then next thing you know you hear like 2 or 3 or 4 more stories that are even crazier than yours, and it's like spreading the awareness.
yeah. Well, like it gives people that like nudge to like want to talk about weird shit that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Logically, right? Like this logic. Like,
So to answer the question on the board, we didn't really have self service, right? But I do have. I have to scroll back all the way into that time. But something really weird happened to us with the GPS on the actual car. Let me see if I can go back into the months. I think that was in November. Okay. Let's see if I have the pictures here.
Montauk and Strange and I, we were out one day and we had some weird shit going on with us. Like,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, like there was some crazy shit going on out there, like calls and sightings, and then anyway, it was pouring rain the whole day, and something went on his camera, and like he couldn't explain it to me. Like he was trying to, but he couldn't really explain it to me. And then we like saw it later. It was like a grid pattern that was like put into his phone. So then, as we were leaving, there was this glowing green orb that was like getting big and small, like just I mean, like it was amazing. And we basically like tried to. I was capturing it, and I'm like, all right, I got it. Like you got it, and he's like, yeah. And I would move up like 10 feet, and I'd be like, okay, I got it. Like come up, and he would come up, and then I'd be like, okay, you got it, and like he would film, and they'd be like, okay, I got it, and I move up, and then all of a sudden it was just like it just decided to go, and we got it for about like 4 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
it was a lot of fun.
All right, so I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, hold on. Let's see.
Maybe I can make you bigger.
Hold on, wait. No, I just gotta turn my. All right, you see how I'm off the road? You see how we're off the road? How the bubble right there? That's with the arrow. That's our car. We're off the road. There we go.
I'm looking at the GPS. I see. Oh shit, I got you. It's showing me that you're not
So
on
for
the road.
so for whatever reason, right there, it was saying that like for like a good stretch that we were just like off the road now. Like, and it kept doing it. Like we just kept like, oh, suddenly it's reading us that we're off the road and way the heck over here, and we're like, what the heck is going on with our GPS right now? So that's to answer your question, Mr. DeVere. But yeah, man, like, um, I do gotta get going though, because
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
about that time, man. I gotta work in the
Okay.
morning.
I'm.
But this has been awesome, man. And anytime you want me to come back on, shoot me a link, man. I'll come on, dude.
I think next time I'm gonna try and get that paid version or whatever. So like, maybe next time we'll do like cross both channels and shit,
Oh yeah, cool.
and then yeah, we'll work it out. But maybe we'll work it out. I think it'd be cool that way. I
Yeah,
just,
dude.
now that I see like what that paid version is of StreamYard, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, I have it, so maybe we can figure something out, so that way you wouldn't have to pay for it to do it.
Oh,
But
okay.
we'll have to talk about that behind on how we would do that.
All right, yeah, we'll figure it out.
But real quick, man, if you guys are interested in what I do and what I have done and what I'm currently making, go to Outcast Paranormal. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We have a page and we have a group. Um, you can find us on pretty soon. Hopefully, we will be doing some cool stuff for everybody on Patreon. My personal stuff on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook is OutkastMatt. Um, I know that we all would appreciate any support that you guys would be willing to give. Subscribe goes a very long way for people like us. Um, let's see what we have coming up. We're going to be dropping the Skunk Ape Experiments 2. That one should hopefully be more information on that within the next couple weeks, so stay tuned. We got a new episode of the podcast, which is episode 5. That is airing tomorrow, hopefully. Fingers crossed that my internet is awesome tomorrow. um, yeah, and let's see. Oh, on May 6th, if you're in the Tallahassee, Florida area, we are doing the one and only paranormal live stage show. It's called Haunted, an interactive paranormal experience. And I can tell you what, the last one that we did was absolutely crazy. If you guys like conferences and like, it's kind of like that in a sense, but it is all like stage performances, but it's stage performances that are geared around you being able to communicate beyond the veil with things and have real cool experiences. If you're open-minded and in the area, please come check it out. The tickets aren't too much at the door, and you can come in there, you can drink, you can have a great time. It's great. It's perfect for a date night. Let's see. I believe Stacy's got another film, a couple other films coming out too. And if you're following us on the Outcast pages and stuff, you guys will see those drops. We are active on almost like every day.
Yeah.
So like doing multiple posts a day. So even if it's just like random, video cool paranormal caught on camera type of things, or if it's clips for the podcast. Oh, and by the way, we also have the live version on Facebook and YouTube, and we also have an audio format if that's what your preferred is. We are currently on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and I think there's a bunch of other ones that I don't even remember what the names are, but we have access to a bunch of audio versions too. So there is the end of my shameless plug, guys. Thank you so much for having me tonight, Mike. This has been a blast, dude. And I just want to point out, man, that like me doing this show with you is like the first show that I've done in a pretty long time, and it's been an honor to be here, bro. It really has, and I'm glad that I got to come on here with you because it's been so much fun. It's been super relaxed, and there hasn't been a specific topic. There's not a specific format, and these are these organic conversations. Like man, this is what I live for, and I truly it is an honor to come on your platform and talk with you. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, bro. And guys, please go subscribe to OutkastMatt channel. He's so close to that 1K mark. He's in the upper 800s, whatever. Like, if we got a rally, like, you know what to do. So if you're watching this later, please.
Yes, thank you. I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
Really
check
would.
out Tonga too. It's only like $2, and James did a really good job on that. And I think
Oh, it's actually free on Tubi now if you want to watch it.
that's cool. So I didn't know that. Thanks.
Yeah, you can. I believe you can get it on your phone or on your TV, if you have a smart TV.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Tubi, Tubi, and you can. It should be up and free on there now. So, yeah, that was a really good film. Of a lot of interesting stuff. Interesting stuff to say the least. But it was done very nice. I unfortunately was not a part of that, and I don't really want to comment too much, but if it's a good watch, go give it a watch, man. Like all the stuff that kind of comes out that these guys have had a part in that I've been able to witness is it's awesome work. The guys are doing awesome jobs. So without further ado, man, thank you so much again for having me on tonight. Go subscribe to OutkastMatt, but if you don't want to do that, just go subscribe to Outkast Paranormal, man. We got a lot of cool stuff in the works. Stuff I'm not at liberty to discuss, but I can tell you that if you think that the podcast is good and fun, we got a lot more stuff coming down the pipe for you guys. So stay tuned, and you guys have a good night.
all right, brother. Thank you, my man. I'll catch up with you.
All right, brother. Take it easy, man. Have a good night.
All right, so I don't know how to do this shit.
No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
All right, take it easy, buddy.
All right, bro.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, man. I'm not gonna stay up here. I don't want to I don't want to try to do anything extra. As you can see, he's fucking awesome. He's great. He's really great, and he's just getting started. Just like Bigfoot and On. Like I'm telling you, these young guys, like they got they're gonna they got nowhere to go but forward. So please go check it out. And he gave a lot of info, but go check all that shit out. All these guys. There's a lot of Outkast Paranormal guys, but you'll figure it out. Hopefully that was a little bit helpful. And thank you guys who contributed, who hung out, live. If you catch this later, the links are floating around, and I put it in the community tab too. I'll try to go in after and edit it and put it in there if I could figure that shit out. But yeah. All right, guys, I'm out of here. It's late on the East Coast, so thank you so much. Thank you. Good. I'm glad, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. He's the man. He'll be back. We'll probably do like a group hangout thing in the future. So, all right. Be good, guys. See you later.